warm welcome to CV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najima Lima, but first are the headlines. Museveni assents to NSSF bill to okay midterm access. Thousands continue to mobilize against military rule in Sudan. Wakiso Giants age 7-goal thriller against Bull. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. The senior presidential press secretary Linda Nabusai said on Tuesday afternoon that President Museveni has assented to the amended National Social Security Fund Bill 2021. By assenting to the bill into a law, it means that workers who have served for over 10 years and have reached 45 years of age are allowed 20% midterm access to their savings with NSSF. We have more. The NSSF bill was first passed by the 10th Parliament in February last year, but it was returned to the August House by President Museveni to make changes to it and return it to him for consent. Following its return to Parliament, the Speaker Jacob Olanya advised that the bill passed by the 10th Parliament can't have changes made to it by the 11th Parliament. Olanya said that any member or indeed government who is desirous of having the business of the 10th Parliament that was not completed by the end of that Parliament should have that business reintroduced in the House and that business shall begin afresh. He added that business of the 10th Parliament that remained incomplete lapsed when the term of the 10th Parliament came to an end. Consequently, the bill was tabled and debated afresh by Parliament before it was passed in November last year. The public transport sector will fully commence to facilitate the movement of students returning to school, but with the necessary special operating procedures like face masking and full vaccination by both the crew and passengers. Kachanchi reports.
Uganda's economy is emerging from the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, but prospects for growth are undermined by increasing pressure on its natural resources, according to the latest World Bank economic analysis for the country. Household incomes fell when farms closed and jobs were lost, particularly in the urban informal sector, which left many Ugandans poor. As part of the measures to revive the country's economy, Isaiah Kavuma decided to start up a company to help youths with small capital to start up businesses.
Ngenda kubanga mbawola sente z'entandikwa, ayagala emmotoka, ayagala ennyumba, ngenda kubanga mbibawola tusobole okwekulaakulanya okutwaliza wamu. Bizinensi looni eno egenda kuba nnungi ku ssente entini ng'omuntu osobola okujja n'otandika ne Kavuma ne tutambulira ffenna wamu okulaba nga tukulaakulana. Abavubuka baffe temusigala mu mwala, temusigala nga mwetulugunya, wabula mujje tukolere wamu.
The business, technical and vocational education and training sector has the potential of providing the largest number of skilled employees to increase Uganda's productivity. Kavuma said he is targeting over 1,000 youths to provide skills and knowledge to help empower them. His aim is to develop the youths.
Olwekyo abavubuka ngenda kubanga mbawa skills okulaba nga bakulaakulana n'okubawa capital mutonotono. Omuntu tatandika na sente nnyingi, ate nga sente zino zengenda okubawanga tezigenda kubanga mu omusingo, tezigenda kubanga ko musingo, ate nga zigenda kubanga ko obugoba butono nnyo ebitundu 3 ku 100. N'olwekyo ngenda kubanga mbaweera ku magoba matini ate tusobole okugenda mu maaso.
The country's gross domestic product contracted by 1.1% in 2020 and is estimated to have recovered to 3.3% during the 2021 fiscal year.
Former Kampala mayor contestant Isaiah Kavuma has urged youths to start businesses with the little they have, as this will yield fruits and change their lives forever. Nalugo reports.
In his address to the media today at the Uganda Media Center, the Minister of Works and Transport, General Edward Katumba Wamala, said that following the President's directives on fully opening of the public transport and schools, the President directed that the transport sector, which has been operating at 50%, should open fully but observing the standard operating procedures like face masking and full vaccination by both the crew and the passengers.
actually the President, directed that the transport sector, which had been operating at 50%, should open fully, but with necessary SOPs, such as the wearing of masks and full vaccination by both the crew and the passengers. He also directed that pre-primary, primary and secondary schools will be open for learners starting the 10th of January 2022. He accordingly directed the Minister of Education and Sports and the Minister of Works and Transport to provide detailed plans for opening of the respective schools. I will quote verbatim the President's, the section in the President's speech to that effect. And I quote, "On account of those factors, we now intend to fully open the economy as well as educational and social activities in some staggered manner. We shall therefore take the following measures as indicated below."
The minister added that the president also directed that pre-primary, primary and secondary schools be opened starting 10th January with the Ministry of Works and Transport to derive a plan that will be followed by the transport sector in transporting students to schools. On the issue of exorbitant transport fares, the minister said that he had physically engaged in an agreement with public transporters and reached an agreement of reducing on the travel rates for passengers, including students, since the system has been fully reopened.
Operators, and we also discussed the issue of public transport fares. You all know what had happened when the lockdown came. The transport fares more or less doubled on some routes. Now we had to sit down again and we have a discussion with the transporters in terms of fares, because now we are going back to 100% carriage capacity, but they also had issues. For example, you all know the cost of fuel now, which is very high. You all know that the spares, even tires and all that which goes with the transport section have gone up. So they also had their concerns. Plus also that many times maybe when they go one route they may not be able to come back full load on another route. So all these factors were considered and we came to agree on some fares, which I'll request them at their own time to communicate generally as to what fares, how we have come to agree on these fares. And I will call upon all the operators, both taxi and bus, to really adhere to these fares so that we don't cheat our people, because people don't have the money. True, people don't have the money now. We have all been faced with COVID. We need our children to go back to school. Please, transporters, have a human heart, as we have discussed and agreed. Let's all bear those fares so that some people don't say, for me it's my bus, I'll charge as I want.
Public transporters, park management and general public are reminded to take security precautions since the country still grapples with terrorism threats. TV Africa News, Kachanchu Mtabazi reporting.
Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. In Sudanese capital Khartoum and in Omdurman, a large city located on the bank of the main Nile River, the police fired tear gas and closed major roads and streets in an attempt to disrupt and coup demonstrations.
Thousands of protesters assembled to demand the end of military rule in a habitual face-to-face encounter. On Tuesday, security forces faced protesters in the streets of Khartoum in the marches that were the first mobilization since Abdallah Hamdok stepped down as prime minister in a country plunged into turmoil. After conceding his inability to find a compromise between the ruling generals and the pro-democracy movement, Hamdok threw in the towel amid political deadlock. The protest movement insists on a fully civilian government to lead the transition, a request rejected by the generals who say power will be handed over only to an elected government. Despite their opposition, Sudanese don't seem to grow tired as thousands like Samil Al-Sayed took part in Tuesday's marches. Wada Hussein concurs with Samil with their 3 watchwords they use, including no negotiations, no partnership, no compromise, in addition to the 3 main demands of the revolution, which are freedom, peace, and justice. Sudan has been politically paralyzed since the October 25th coup. The military takeover came more than 2 years after a popular uprising forced the removal of long-time autocrat Omar al-Bashir and his Islamist government in April 2019.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa received on Tuesday the first installment of a long-awaited report on corruption in the country. The report is the result of 3 years' work looking at the extent of corruption during former President Jacob Zuma's tenure between 2009 and 2018. South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa described the report as a defining moment in his country's effort to definitely end the era of state capture and to restore the integrity and credibility and the capability of the country's institutions, but more importantly, their government. The first part of the report deals with corruption and mismanagement at the heart of South African Airways. South African President concluded that they are going to go through the report and are going to look at the many agencies in the country who may have a sense that there are certain things that they have either been looking at, investigating over a period, and the report either confirms or consolidates their thinking. He added that for them as a government should go ahead and act as they are motivated and will not really be commenting on the report until they have applied their mind on the report and they have looked at. The full report covers 3 main areas including state contracts and sponsorships and corruption at the heart of the tax revenue service. The South African president said he would only comment once the full report is known. The alleged arsonist behind the fire that ravaged South Africa's Parliament complex last Sunday appeared briefly in court this Tuesday. The Cape Town Magistrates Court charged the suspect, a 49-year-old, for arson. The hearing is now adjourned to January 11th.
The blaze first broke out on Sunday in the wood-panelled older part of the building, which houses South Africa's first parliament and some of the nation's most cherished artifacts. It then ravaged the new assembly, where legislators currently meet, and was brought under control on Monday. Stronger winds, however, reignited the flames, leaving firefighters battling the blaze late into the night. Under the eyes of Cape Townians, a dozen firefighters were using a crane lift to direct their hose towards the roof of the 19th century building that houses the South African National Assembly. The flames destroyed the chamber where members of parliament normally sit. The fire started in the old part of the parliament complex before spreading to the modern part.
As Senegal's head of state prepares to take over the African Union chairmanship in February, a group of NGOs held a press conference on Monday to ask him to make this a priority. We have more.
Following the trial of former Chadian President Hissène Habré by the Extraordinary African Chambers in Dakar, some 82 billion CFA francs were to be paid to some 7,400 identified victims via an African Union Trust Fund. But nothing has been paid to the victims so far. The president of the Senegalese League for Human Rights blamed the delay in the compensation process to a lack of political will by the African Union. Former Chadian President Hissène Habré died at 79 in Senegal, where he was sentenced to life imprisonment in 2016 for crimes against humanity after unprecedented trial. It is also the first time a former African head of state was tried in Africa, and also first an ex-president was found personally guilty of rape.
Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, the Kisumu Safari train is back more than 10 years after services were suspended due to a dilapidated railway line. The state corporation hopes to appeal to those who wish to avoid the road traffic jam and high prices.
In Kenya, a decade after services were suspended due to a dilapidated rail line, the Nairobi to Kisumu train has resumed operation. This comes at a time when Uhuru Kenyatta's government is undertaking infrastructure projects meant to cement his legacy. The train received overwhelming reception, with all the coaches being fully booked during the festive season that saw the return of the line. Resentment have, however, been registered by a section of the public concerning the 12-hour journey that on average takes 7 hours by road. Former Prime Minister and Opposition Chief Raila Odinga was among the first passengers aboard the train, a move seen by pundits as efforts to uplift the public image of the train amid its protest from a section of the public. To attract new customers, the State Corporation Kenya Railways presents its railway line as an alternative cheaper than the road transport. Indeed, for commuters, the cost of travel via the train is much less expensive since they now pay half what the buses and public service vehicles charge for the same journey.
In our health news today, State House has said that President Museveni received COVID-19 vaccine booster on Tuesday. In a photo tweeted by the senior presidential press secretary Linda Nabusai, Museveni was being injected by the Health Ministry Permanent Secretary Dr. Diana Atwine.
Museveni said shortly after his vaccination that his doctors, Dr. Diana Atwine and Dr. Magoba, an army officer, gave him a booster dose. Museveni said that, according to his statement during the New Year speech, in order to open the economy, the government was going to rely on full vaccination for people aged 18 years and above, who are about 22 million, but also booster doses for the 3.3 million people above the age of 50 years, a constituency where he very rightly fits. He added that he is now 77 years, a group which should get a booster dose, and encouraged the ones below 50 but with problems like diabetes, blood pressure, cancer also to get a booster dose. The president appealed to Ugandans to get fully vaccinated to beat the virus and reopen the economy fully. Museveni said he has got reports that even with the new Omicron virus, people who have been vaccinated 2 times quickly overcome it. The Ugandan president has got his Pfizer booster dose almost 10 months after his first COVID-19 dose to improve immunity following the outbreak of the fast spreading Omicron variant. By getting the COVID booster shot, Museveni is among the few world leaders who have done the same. In September last year, United States President Joe Biden received a COVID-19 vaccine booster as a way of encouraging citizens to follow suit. The Ministry of Health recently noted that Ugandans above the age of 50 are eligible to get a COVID booster shot, and that 3 types of vaccines are considered for mixing and matching for the Ugandan population.
In our sports news today, Wakiso Giants came from behind twice to edge a thrilling encounter in a 4-3 win over Bull FC at Kabaka Chavagu. Tom Masiko scored the winner to add on Moses Alilo brace, and Ivan Bogere strikes turning Ibrahim Kazindura brace and a wonder goal from Ibrahim Nsimbe into consolations. Kachanchu has more.
Kazindula opened the floodgates in the 17th minute with a ferocious shot from the free kick after Edward Setulu had fouled Nsimbe on the edge of the area. Aliro replied with a well-worked goal in the 36th minute, getting at the end of a pass from Ibrahim Kasuli just inside the area. 5 minutes later, Bogere put the hosts in the lead with a well-taken penalty after Said Kenny brought him down in the area. The striker then missed a good chance to get on the score sheet again before the half-time mark, when he shot way wide with only the goalkeeper to beat. Bull came out guns blazing in the second half and piled pressure, forcing a leveler in the 64th minute from Nsimbe, who controlled a long ball from Kenny, swiftly turned and shot far beyond Emukule's reach. The visitors regained the lead in the 75th minute with Kazindula beating Emukule from 12 yards after Grant Masiko fouled Kaliowa in the area. The lead lasted only 5 minutes as Alilo equalized with a goal that sent the crowd wild. Wakiso Giants are now 24 points after 14 games in 6th place, just one behind Bull, who visited Vipers on Saturday at Kitende. The Purple Sharks will conclude the first round with a trip to Jinja to face newly promoted Gaddafi Football Club on Friday.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa, please. Do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.